What is going on, everybody? I know it's been a while, but we are back. um, what happened last week is I got food poisoning. So that was terrible. Or I guess more accurately, I had an allergic reaction. Um, found out I am deathly allergic to tempeh and was quite down bad for several days, but we have defeated it. Tempeh, it's like fermented tofu. Anyways, enough of that. We survived. We're jumping into the Greyhound. If you have not done a Greyhound, we need two more. Greyhound is a fantastic tournament type for those who not the biggest bankroll in the world. They're looking for a realistic chance to win some money this year. It's a single entry. So if you're someone who's like, ooh, if I had 150 entries, I could have won too. Well, people can only enter one here. It is 30K to first, 2 out of 12, 1 out of 5 in the quarterfinals, 1 out of 4, 53-person final. Min cash in the finals is $750. So a really nice tournament, really great tournament to win some money. That's okay. I did get fresh rankings for Underdog and DraftKings on beatbestball.com. So had those uploaded on Saturday morning. Going to update the more fringe tournaments, drafters, and Eliminator later this week. Let's run through some of the news. And it looks like my computer is trying to crash on me. So that's fantastic. I'll have to get a new computer. We got this bad boy to fill. We are in the 11 hole. Good news. If I had 150 Greyhound entries, so I had tempeh one time before, a couple of years ago. I was actually staying at a friend's place, and the same thing happened. I like vomited in the sink. Was just really down bad, and I was like, maybe the tempeh was just bad, right? Surely I'm not actually allergic to this. Maybe it was just bad tempeh. Well, no, wrong. Had tempeh again and just utter destruction. The type of last thing we'll say on this because it is gross, but the type of throw up where you're just like throwing up your stomach. So anyways, sorry for that description, but we're here. Appreciate you folks being here. Again, fresh rankings for Underdog and DraftKings moved a lot, right? J.K. Dobbins, a big riser, of course. Dialing in more at the back end. People have been requesting tiers, so going to get some tiers on the site this week. Going to update those other rankings. Good news. Davis and I are going to return this Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. Sorry, Brett. So if you are someone who loves the Liam and Davis show, we're going to be running that back on Wednesday at 3. Matt asking about the Ken Walker injury. So let's run through some of those. Ken Walker, minor injury. Joe Mixon, minor injury. My philosophy in general on these, not diving into each one too granular, is that it is June. And so new injuries, guys in walking boots, guys not practicing in June, like closer to a nothing burger. Is it possible that one of the injuries is super serious and it's being underreported? Yes, of course that is possible, right? Let's put this over here actually. But like Joe Mixon, I did a DraftKings draft the other day, and Joe Mixon used to be very expensive on DraftKings. Let's get Neighbors. I don't have that much Neighbors. I like Neighbors, so I mean, utterly destroyed with bad quarterback play last year. Possible if Jackson Dart is good, he has good quarterback play. But so yeah, my philosophy in general is like, let's buy the dips. Amon-Ra St. Brown, another guy who had minor surgery. In general, I think these are, I don't think Amon-Ra is going to drop in the market, but like Joe Mixon used to go at the 3-4 turn at times on DraftKings. I think I got him in like the 6th round, right? So like that just seems like a clear, like if you're drafting volume, whatever, buy the dip. And so same thing with Ken Walker. If he's going to drop because of it, which I don't think he is, by the dip. Because I quite like Ken Walker, right? Seahawks are kind of a weird team where, in my mind, they're building towards the future. They are. It seems like their coach is smart enough to realize that they were like a good, not great team. And one of the worst things you can be in the NFL is a good, not great team if your goal is to actually win the Super Bowl and not just fill seats. And so they traded away Geno Smith, right? And they drafted, God, what's his name? The rushing guy. We have to really scroll here. They drafted Jalen Milroe. And then they signed Sam Darnold after the trade, and they got his contract's like a little bit concerning, where it's kind of like the Daniel Jones contract, where it's like, if things are bad, he's going to get benched. Now, I personally think Darnold is like too cheap for what he can be. And if he just doesn't get benched, he's a solid pick, but there is that risk. But anyways, I think that they're a team that clearly realized some of this stuff. So it's like they need to build towards the future. So I wouldn't be surprised at a lot of things. I wouldn't be surprised if they trade Ken Walker at the trade deadline. I wouldn't be surprised if, Zach Charbonnet just starts getting some serious run. I wouldn't be surprised if they bench Darnold to just get Milroe some reps and get a look at him. But in general, Ken Walker, he historically wasn't targeted that much in the pass game. And that kind of changed last year. When he was on the field, he was targeted a lot. And he's a guy we should like for best ball because he 46 receptions last year. Because he has home run ability, right? So he's like James Cook type of guy. But anyways, I like to draft Walker. I like to draft Charbonnet, who, if you want to be negative about Charbonnet, you could be like, well, why is Charbonnet 30 picks more expensive than someone like Ray Davis? And obviously it's because we've seen it with Charbonnet, and it's possible that he just plays more this year. Mysterious asks, do you draft differently when it comes to single entries versus multiple entries? Not really. I mean, in general, right? Like these, I think getting a little bit weird could be valuable just because so few people will do that on a single entry. But for my team, I don't think I've drafted Josh Allen for like a month. So let's do it. My team, I got unique without having, like, this is the most valuable type of uniqueness you can get. I got unique through falling ADP. I got a guy with an ADP of 9 and an ADP of 11 at picks 11 and 14. So you cannot go into a draft and be like, great, I want to start Neighbors Amon-Ra, right? You need to allow that to happen. Like this guy taking Henry and Achane allowed me to get an Amon-Ra. And maybe that uniqueness will change with Amon-Ra's minor injury. But in general, like I already have uniqueness. I think uniqueness is the most valuable thing in best ball because so many people are just like, gotta draft by ADP. How dare I have a conviction? Let's do Kyron. I don't get that much Kyron. He's historically been one of my guys. It's just a little bit scary with them adding another running back, but yeah, it's not hard to see Kyron being an absolute smash, right? Doesn't get hurt, gets goal line touchdowns. My vibe there is that like Adams is going to get a lot of touchdowns this year. Puka is going to get a lot of touchdowns. And so Kyron's tougher, but again, falling ADP value. I do like Cook. Matt said, any news on Cook? I mean, he showed up to practice. So people trying to wish cast the sit out didn't happen. He's at practice. He could still hold in, right? A hold in is when you show up but don't practice. But I think things are going to work out there. And like I like Breece Hall, but we don't have to guess with Cook. He's on a good offense. He got goal line looks last year. What if he plays more snaps, right? Is there downside with him? Yes. Yes, I was on with JJ. Talking more about DraftKings if you want to check out that. Okay, some minor news. Cam Akers signs with the Saints. That makes me a little bit more worried about Kendre Miller, who I have been taking, even though the market really wasn't. I'm still going to take Kendre Miller occasionally, though, because it could just be an indictment on Devin Neal, who there's like one video floating around where they did a drill. Kendre looked like a beast. Devin Neal looked like not an NFL player. So we'll see. We'll see on that one. Other than that, since the Dobbins news, don't think we got a lot. I think we've talked about Daniel Jones already. Yeah, it's just a lot of Neal seems dead. Yeah, I mean, love Davis, but wish I didn't take his enthusiasm in my pre-draft best ball. Thankfully, I've not taken any Devin Neal. And you know what? Hey, the NFL, it's June. So a rookie looking bad in June doesn't mean anything, really. Like, do I want to take Devin Neal? No. But is it still possible Devin Neal is the guy? Absolutely, right? So fun start here. I think one thought process for single entry too is you can get away with even more week 17 correlation. Man, I do not know what is up with. Gonna have some articles hitting the site soon. Mid-writing them. Rams get Detroit, so we got some week 17 correlation already, or week 15. At Seattle, and again, Seattle could be like totally given up by them. And then at Atlanta. Thoughts on Breece Hall? Yeah, I mean, in general, when a guy was a first-round pick the last year, I want to be buying him. It does feel like one of the most nutted starts you can get this year is going like wide out, double running back. So Breece Hall, Kyron, Chase Brown, Cook, Hampton, with like a Neighbors, Amon-Ra, something like that. So we'll do Chuba. Why not? I like Ken Walker too, but it is would have a lot of week 8 buys then. So we'll spread the love. Chuba plays at Seattle. Why not? Let's just start RB heavy here. And we'll read this Ken Walker blurb for the folks. Continues to deal with an ankle injury. Should be fine. Yeah, I mean, he's missed a lot of time in the past, but again, he's got outs to being like a Bear, a Cowboy. Like, he could just be the nuts, and he could just be very good on his own team. Do you think there's a reasonable chance that Kamara could get traded before the season or at deadline? Yes and no. Last year, I said yes for sure. The only reason I say no is he got a new contract last year, you know? And so that's kind of tough. It's like, I kind of think where the Saints are is if things are bad, they might just be so bad that they like need Kamara to fill their stadium, like to have fans show out, to be like, oh, at least I'll get to go see Alvin play, you know? And, you know, like, what are they going to get for him? So, but yeah, there are definitely outs, and he's not that old, you know? He's really not that old. Yeah, if he was a Bear or Cowboy, I think the 3rd round, borderline 2-3 turn is where the market would go on him. You know, you can count on these things until you can't, right? CMC got hurt, and then he didn't. So pretty fun start for me. We got an elite quarterback. We got 2 elite wide receivers. And then we got 3 running backs that should be their RB1s. I like Chuba's upside a lot, but It is a little concerning they got so many backs there now. Damian Martinez, yeah, like, I don't know. Some of your other favorite streamers are going to be like, yes, you should just draft Rashard Smith and Jarquez Hunter and DJ Giddens and Devin Neal and Sampson and Woody Marks. And it's like, yeah, I see the vision for some of these guys, but personally, I think I'm going to be trying to get more of them come later in the year, especially the ones who could just outright be their RB3. No. I post my exposures in August, but I don't generally show them before. How many BBMs have you done? Around 57. Keaton Mitchell? Like, yeah, like at least we've seen it with Keaton Mitchell. And, you know, a lot of the running backs went later than we thought they would go. So, like, my vibe from the college folks is that a lot of these running backs were going to go round 4, round 5, and then they went round 6, round 7. And maybe it's because it's so deep that everyone was like, why not just get them later? Or maybe it's because they're not as good as people thought. I mean, that's not the case for me. It's like I'm taking running backs in the late rounds, but why would I be taking running backs that are very speculative that are also being drafted 100% of the time? It would be one thing if no one was taking DJ Giddens, if no one was taking Devin Neal, but they are. Definitely think this team needs some wide receiver, so let's do Cup. Why not? We just got 2 olds at wide receiver. Cup gives us some week 17 correlation with Chuba. Diggs, I could see being a big riser eventually. These guys could also be total zeros. Like, it's tough. Singletary, I'm not doing that one, but I see the thought process. It's like no one is taking him. So that alone, I like. And he's been good in the past. Have you been clicking any Miles Sanders? Definitely. He was a big riser for me, my rankings. I had already been taking him, but yeah, like, why do I like Miles Sanders? He legitimately could just be the RB1 of the Cowboys. No injury required, right? Just, he could be that guy. Do you draft Mostert? He's a guy I take rarely, and generally I want it correlated. So, like, I'll take him on a Giant stack. I'll take him with Geno. But in general, like, not my favorite cup of tea. But I have mixed him in some. And, you know, look, if Gene gets hurt, he almost has to be part of the picture, right? Sean Tucker? Yeah, Sean Tucker, definitely one that we've at least seen NFL upside. So I like mixing him in. So pretty nice balanced start somewhat. 3 running backs, 4 wide receivers, double flex coverage. Kind of weird. My team has all week 8 and 14 buys, so could be tough to advance. I don't know. And then Josh Allen. Do you make anything of ETR's research that essentially showed that teams drafted later score more points and have higher playoff advance rates? Not really, because I think what a lot of people mistake, even smart people, is that they're trying to think of what is good on average. And newsflash, we're not trying to be average in best ball. We are trying to win. Period. Right? So if on average teams do better in August, does that mean you should do all your teams in August? Well, if you want to, maybe if you're not very good at this game and you're like, you know what I need? I need max information edge and I need to be drafting against the worst people because I have no idea about who's going to go up in markets or I don't subscribe to beatbestball.com. I don't get someone who's making ranks that's probably going to identify market risers, right? Like Jordan Mason back in the big board, we were jamming Jordan Mason in the 16th round, right? J.K. Dobbins was very high on J.K. Dobbins. Now he's going to go up 30 picks. So I tend to be pretty good identifying the players who are going to go up in the market. I love some of my early drafted teams, right? And then, there are going to be years where it is the nuts to draft in August. There are going to be years where it is the nuts to draft in June, in May, whatever. And if you just want to lean into variance and choose one, that is fine. But no, what is best on average means very little to me. Man, we're just getting locked out of stacks for Josh. Rashid Shaheed, guy like. And to be honest with you, I've not looked at the research, but like I know that people are going to be like, oh, 3 quarterback is good. This is good. This is good. They're talking about what's good on average. You're not trying to be average. You're trying to be number 1 out of 670K. So get the advance rate out of your brain. Get the average out of your brain. The only way to really win money in best ball is to win the damn contest, or at least get very high, right? It's not to advance a bunch of teams. Yeah, like being an average advance rate person, on average, you're going to lose money playing top-heavy tournaments, right? And most of you watching this are essentially playing an entertainment game. You like football, you like fantasy football. You're not going to be on the street if you lose. If you win, obviously great things can happen. And so free yourself from what's good on average, right? Same thing with the talking points around 3 quarterback. Of course, 3 quarterback is good on average because it means you're not taking a stab at a player who could be a 0. When you draft a running back or wide receiver, you risk drafting someone who's probably going to be a bad pick, right? Whereas the quarterbacks, you almost know they're going to score points, right? When I draft Marshawn Lloyd instead of Sam Darnold, I'm taking a risk there, but that's the game we're playing. Yeah, so many people are trying to fit to data that happened in the past, which is like people used to do this a lot. And I would, I didn't really have a big platform, so no one cared what I said. But trying to fit to past year's data, we call that descriptive data, can be very silly in such a chaotic game. Like if you like last year was it a very unusual year where if you're going to use descriptive data for a year where almost no running back got hurt, a bunch of wide receivers got hurt, you're going to get some weird conclusions. Yeah, this is a tough thing. So I got a lot of cheap Dobbins. I'm sure others do too. And so now you got to ask yourself, has he risen enough? My philosophy is once I think his price is right, I'm probably not going to take him too much because I already got him cheap, right? But we know that it's going to take a while for him to rise to the correct price. And so if I see him in the 150s, I'll probably still take him. Or later in the year, if I just have different picks, different combinations of picks, players are going to different areas, I might take him in a later year just to get some Dobbins exposure to an August team. Okay. No need to play around. Let's get our quarterback stack here. Well, the nice thing about Dobbins is it's not impossible he's the RB1, right? He's like Miles Sanders in that. I think it's unlikely he's the RB1, but it is in the range of outcomes. Not really a quarterback to take here, huh? I like Kirk. I like Ramondre. We could have done like Kirk and Stroud. There are some times where Stroud will just wrap around. So the team so far, Josh Allen, Kyron Chuba, Ken Walker, Malik Neighbors, Amon-Ra, Stephon Diggs, Cooper Kupp, Rashid Shaheed, Christian Kirk, Jonnu Smith, and Kincaid. I just flat out disagree with Jonnu free fall in the market, so going to be jamming him. What do you think Harvey settles at by September? I have him ranked in this range in the 6th, but it is possible. Like, you get a couple Harvey fumbled at practice blurbs. Dobbins is running with the 1 blurbs. Like, the reason why August drafts, September drafts can be so soft is because obviously you have people who are not digesting news. And then you also have people who are freaking out over week 1. Week 1 is close. It's in like 10 days by then, right? And so you're like, oh my God, like RJ Harvey might not be an RB1. So I don't know, man. Like he could free fall. I still think he's a good buy though. I would be a little bit worried if they're not signed by end of June for Cooper and Keenan. And the reason why I'm like, I still draft some Amari Cooper and Keenan, but the reason why I didn't draft them as much as Dobbins is because, again, wide receiver is a more skill-based thing. It certainly seemed like Keenan definitely had skill last year. Cooper, I think, was hurt. I still think he has some. But yeah, it's a little bit different with wide receiver. Running back, it was just like I knew Dobbins wasn't retiring. I knew he wasn't going to the Chargers. I think people were misreading that tag situation. Elijah Moore got tagged with the same thing and the Bills signed him. That was just a team doing that for comp picks. And so it's like I knew the second he was signed, he was going up 40 picks, you know? What do you think about Garrett Wilson's ADP? I'm behind on Garrett Wilson. I will always be behind on a Justin Fields wide receiver 1, right? I was very behind on DJ Moore the year he was with Justin Fields. That was the right process because he wasn't that great on the aggregate, but he had a couple 50-point games and a big game in the playoffs. So I lost because of that, right? Garrett Wilson, same thing could happen. I do want to get some shares. I don't think I've clicked them at all yet, though. I mean, I have no idea, man. How would I know that? I write about fantasy football. I stream fantasy football. I'm not in the lobby streets. Okay. Quarterbacks. We need some quarterback here. I mean, I don't know. I like Isaac Guerendo. We'll figure it out after. It seems like as CMC rises, Guerendo falls, and don't think that's that logical. Tua. Yes, of course, Tua with Jonnu. Man, what am I thinking? Tua just seems very cheap too. The ideal QB2. Very anti-spike week of you. Well, the thing about Garrett Wilson is you're not fading him for scrubs. Tyreek Hill could have 2,000 yards this year. Rashee Rice could have 1,800 yards, you know? Chase Brown could be a round 1 running back. So you're not fading this guy for nobodies. You need to take him over legit stars. So he better be good. If he averages 11 fantasy points, that is terrible, you know? And go ahead, go look up any Justin Fields season-long projections. You're not going to like what you see. Oh, yes. Would I rather have Tua, Herbert, or Purdy? Obviously, Herbert or Purdy. But at cost, Tua going in the 160s is just kind of bizarre, you know? Yeah, I don't really like the Week 17 game for the Jets either. You like Malik Washington? I did put him ahead of Nick Westbrook-Akine because the one blurb I read out of Miami was like, Nick Westbrook-Akine looks bad. So take that as you will. The projections are wrong about Fields. Fields is I am high on Fields, but low on Garrett Wilson. And look, guys, if you disagree with me, go ahead. Go ahead. Take Garrett Wilson. I don't want to have none. I do have none right now, but I will get some. So if you had 54% Wicks and you were confident he was going up 4 to 5 rounds by mid-August, would you still keep on drafting him in the 18th/19th? Or would you just smile watching everyone else overpay? Well, I mean, to be clear, going from an 18th round pick to a 14th round pick is not a big deal. But Dobbins is going from an 18th round pick to, a 12th, 11th, 13th. And you got to decide how much conviction you have. But you didn't really outline that question perfectly. If you think he's going up a lot, I would still draft him now. And I don't see the real reason why he would go up. So Sam Darnold is a stack, but with Josh, I'm not going to do it. What's this guy's team? Let's take Will Shipley. I like blinked and out of nowhere, everyone was like super high on Will Shipley after me being very high on him all offseason, plus last year. So I had to raise him to his ADP. This guy definitely needs running backs more. Wilson will lead the league in target share. Yeah, but target share doesn't pay the bills, my friends, right? If you got to think, if Justin Fields is throwing for 109 passing yards, I don't care what the man's target share is. Let's go Diami Brown. Like I see the range for obviously Garrett Wilson and Justin Fields, they played together in college, so I could see it going great. It's just not the type of top-down bet I generally will make. And even if Garrett Wilson is good, he needs to be truly elite to punish you for a fade. It's hard for players to punish you for fading them. Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, I don't like his playoff week matchups, Do I think handcuffing a two-player running back backfield is good? Definitely something I do on occasion. I don't think it's crazy to think Olave outscores Wilson. I like Olave a lot. And guess what? I would love Garrett Wilson if he went in the 6th round. He doesn't. He goes at the 2-3 turn. Hate the price, not the player. It's just like, I personally think this is wrong. Dobbins has no value in best ball if Harvey is healthy. I think that's quite wrong, and I think the market also disagrees with you, seeing as Harvey is falling. So, what does my team need? I think we're chilling on running backs. We have 3 locked-in starters, and then the backups of 2 of the best running backs in the league. So, if an injury occurs, we're running pure. We're done on quarterback. I don't think we need tight end either. So, I think we're just going to choose more wide receivers, I like Slayton always, but we're going to, we talked about Wicks on stream. I don't want a million overlapping buys, so we'll get Wicks. Can you hear my thoughts on Golden? I think he's coin flipping with Jaden Reed to be the wide receiver one, so I kind of mix. And here I think, look, this guy's getting like infinite offseason buzz. It's a stack, so why not? We'll take Elijah Moore. It's a single entry. No one else is going to have Elijah Moore in this contest. It doesn't even really matter if he's a 0. I've taken Curtis Samuel a lot. Now, I will say guys like Elijah Moore, they should pop when players don't have pads on. So am I going to be windmilling it on Elijah Moore? No. But do I think it's okay to mix him in with Josh Allen? Yes. And this is what you should be doing, folks. Like Malik Washington also would have been a good player to take here, right? You should be your wide receiver stabs. You should correlate with your quarterback so that if you're right, you're really benefiting. Well, here there is a couple things happening with Dobbin. People who didn't draft Dobbins regret it. They're regretting it, and they want to fix that. They're like, oh, no, I didn't get him cheap. I got to get him now. So, like, that kind of is happening. But, yeah, crazy take, but I like Harvey and Dobbins. You know, I'm going to like Harvey as he gets cheaper. I think the Dobbins bet is a really great bet. I personally view him not too dissimilar to Ramondre, Ray Davis, you know, these types of bets. Sending them this week, Zach. Was going to do it last week, but the food poisoning really took me out. Yeah, I'm going to raise ETN. I've had ETN pretty low, but I do think I'm going to put him by his ADP because I don't know. He could be the guy. So my team here, Josh and Tua, Kyron Chuba, Ken Walker, Garendo Shipley, Malik Neighbors, Amon-Ra, Diggs, Cup, Shaheed Kirk, Diami Brown, Dontavian Wicks, Elijah Moore, Jonnu Smith, Dalton Kincaid. I like the squad. We got some week 17 correlation with Shipley, some mini correlations. Let's do an eliminator. We'll do one more, and then I'll get out of here. I'll be back tomorrow, too. And again, Davis and I are going live around 3 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you join my Discord. I always notify that when I'm going live. All right, guys, let's do the coin flip bit. Heads. Okay, we made it out of week 1. Heads again. Get them next time. I thought tails, but I said heads. So take that as you will. 12 hole. I didn't get these rankings updated yet, but I will get those updated this week. Yeah. I mean, at his price, I don't even know if you need him that healthy. And again, you're not drafting J.K. Dobbins with the expectation he's getting like 200 carries. Could that happen? Sure. But that's not the expectation. Good luck. 12 holes soul nutted. It's one of my favorite spots, man. Especially when you're like on the phone watching a movie or something. This is the Eliminator. I can show you guys how many teams I've done. This is my 64th Eliminator. There are 64 squares on the chessboard, so good luck, perhaps. And I've done 58 Best Ball Manias. Again, going to do a couple more this month, but mainly, you know, for me, 25 in May, 25 June through August, 25 August to September. No, the 25 numbers make those 50. So 50 in May, 50 June through August, 50 in August, September. historically, when have the winning BBM teams been drafted? Well, luckily for you, I have an insane memory for weird things, so I can tell you most of them. BBM 1, no idea. BBM 2 was drafted by me around June 15th. So actually, if I had thought about that more, I would have done a BBM team because it is June 16th today, and I did win this contest with a team drafted a couple months ago. BBM 3 was drafted around July 15th. BBM 4 was drafted let's do neighbors again. Guess he's falling because of like a foot injury or something. And then we don't get a lot of Derrick Henry, and this is a good contest for him. So I'm happy to get my Derrick Henry exposure in the Eliminator, where in general, like league winner types, if Derrick Henry's a league winner, he's better than in the Eliminator than he is in Best Ball Mania, because if he's a league winner in Best Ball Mania but scores 10 points in week 17, wasn't going to win you the contest anyways, probably. BBM 4 was drafted late August, early September. I do not know when BBM 5 was drafted, but it is lookupable on BBMDB. Maybe someone could look it up while I'm streaming. What's your opinion on sniping 6th round Burrow on a Chase Higgins stack? I think it's okay to do rarely. Typically, I wouldn't do it. Like, would I take him with Chase Brown sometimes? Yes. But in general, like, you're not stopping Joe Burrow's ADP going towards the 6-7 turn. And I think it's kind of good to get the Joe Burrow 6-7 turn exposure while you can with your Chase, Higgins, etc. Because it wouldn't surprise me if the August crowd is like Joe Burr and he goes higher, even though quarterbacks usually go lower later in the year. I think Neighbors is falling a little bit because I think he didn't practice with an injury. And it's like, again, this stuff could be serious, but probably not. It is June 16th. Even if it was serious, could it heal in a couple of months? Yes. So I haven't been getting a ton of Neighbors, so I'm happy to get him because I certainly don't want to fade him. Someone asked me like why I'm lower on CMC for something like BBM. And I want to stress that, like, and this is why I'm going to have the tiers hit the site. I'm not lower on him. It's a very flat tier, I would say, from Puka, CMC, Gene T, Amon-Ra, Nico, Neighbors, Brian Thomas. I view these players as a tier, but the wide receivers are safer. So you got to ask yourself what you want. Do you want to risk in, like, taking CMC, your draft could be over. You could be drafting a 0. The guy could be hurt. You also could have won the draft, So, but taking like Nico Collins outside of an injury, which of course anyone can get hurt, is incredibly safe. He could have 2,000 receiving yards, I'm not really sure why people just assume Estime was the 2 without Dobbins. I personally viewed Jaleel as a better bet than Estime. Could be wrong. This is possible. I could see Burrow moving all the way down by Baker. Daniel, you and everyone else should do what you're most comfortable with. For me, I just hate the idea that I would be playing a contest where other people have really valuable, unique combos. Like my first year playing best ball, I didn't draft until August because I only learned about best ball existing in August. And then I was like, I got to the playoffs and I was like, how the heck did this team have 2 first-round picks? I just assumed they cheated or colluded because they had like Alvin Kamara and Devontae Adams. Well, comes to find out, no, they didn't collude. It's just in early May, you could get that combo. So me personally, I'm sick at the idea that someone could have some really valuable ADP combos if I was to save all my bullets for August. For you, it sounds like you're stressed out that you could be drafting zeros or drafting wrong. Like that doesn't bother me. The most likely outcome most years is that we lose. Yeah, why not? Young, past ADP. Let's get it. Double week 8 buys. Buys are important in Eliminator more so, but pretty fun. Yeah, it's been down a while. How focused are you on beating your pod versus the whole field? I put very little effort into beating my pod. In a high stakes draft, if I notice that like a player from like there are many positions in best ball where your decision is a mix. Sometimes you'll do something, sometimes you'll do another thing, and both are good, right? Sometimes you'll take a third quarterback, sometimes you'll take whatever. If I notice in a high stakes draft that like I could take a third quarterback but I don't need to, but I notice it would really screw another team, I'm probably going to take the third quarterback because it helps me equally and it really hurts someone else. For something that's super huge field, top heavy, BBM, DraftKings, etc., I generally don't. But something else is like, yeah, if I take 6 wide receivers to start my draft, and then I notice that wide receivers are falling, sometimes I'll even scoop those because I don't want the teams that drafted running back to also get the wide receiver value. So complicated question, Elizabeth. Hope that helps. So pretty fun start here. Neighbors, Marvin, JSN, Henry. This is an eliminator. The ADPs are kind of wild. Yeah, like I got a lot of Pickens early. That's very valuable right now, right? Like I named some of these. Try as you might, you cannot create these teams anymore. Herbert and Dak, Chase Brown, RJ Harvey. Okay, so RJ Harvey was an ADP win. Now it's just going to be ADP normal. Rashad White, Jalen Wright, Jerome Ford, Roshan Johnson, Ollie Gordon. So not the best running back room, but if these two guys are good, who cares? But then the wide receiver room, CeeDee Lamb, Ladd, Hunter, all those guys are normal. And then George Pickens picked 76. Can't do that anymore. Kittle and Kelsey. Another Dak double. Jaden and Dak. This is pre-scheduled, so I fell into that week 17 stack. Jonathan Taylor, Henderson, Jordan Mason, Austin Eckler. He's gone up in price. Jalen Wright, he's gone up in price. Marshawn Lloyd, he's gone up in price somewhat. CeeDee Lamb, Terry, Metcalf, who's going up in price. Pickens, pick 77. Can't do that anymore. These guys are all normal. Jonnu, Loveland, Kraft, they're all normal. If you're gonna handcuff CMC every single time you take him, I would not advise that. I think it's totally fine to do some of the time, but not all the time. Yeah. Rough Buff says if Higgins and Chase stay healthy and the Bengals defense sucks, then Burrow is the number 1 quarterback in best ball. I'm a hater. I have to snipe that. That's an automatic pod winner. I agree with what Speed's saying. Why would you snipe him? You aren't preventing anything. Fact. There will be 10,000 plus Jamar T. Burrow stacks. Yeah, like you are not going to prevent the whole contest. So here we will buy the dip on Harvey. I barely get any Calvin Ridley, so we'll go him as well. You know, for the Eliminator, I think you could view it that Calvin Ridley could be a little bit slower just because rookie quarterback, but also he's competing with like no one. Hollywood thoughts? I mean, my initial reaction was pretty high. I didn't really love one of the quotes from the beat reporters that mention Jalen Royals and not Hollywood, but then I saw a picture where it was like, or she writes Worthy in Hollywood. So I draft him still. He was targeted at a very high rate when he was on the field. He's gotten a little bit cheaper in them. I've lowered him in my rankings just because the market's gone cheaper on him, but I kind of view him as like the last of a tier of guys. Yeah, it was like a picture, you know? You know, that's what this time of year is. It's reading tea leaves. City Walk says so much playing not to lose. And what he means by that is not to, not trying to pick on anyone, trying to educate. But if you're drafting Joe Burrow naked, which by the way, I have and will draft Joe Burrow and stack him with Andre Yoshivasa, Mike Gesicki, Jermaine Burton sometimes. And I think that's fine. Right? But in general, you need to be thinking about, like, how do I win? Also, for this contest, naked Joe Burrow is much better for the Eliminator. You don't need nuts, right? Joe Burrow gives you 30 points. You just need to beat someone head to head. Is 18th round Deontay Thornton click doable over Trey Tucker? Those are some stacks I've not done yet, but I want to do. Like, I've drafted almost no Jack Beck to date. I was confused as ADP, just like Kyle Williams. But early word on the street is that Trey Tucker and Deontay Thornton are, operating as the wide receiver 2 and 3. And so I don't think I'll be clicking them a ton, but I do want to get on some Geno teams. I want to take both Thornton and Trey Tucker, or just either or, just to try to draft some players most people are not taking. But again, it's June, so things could change for Jack Beck. It would be unusual for Jack Beck to be beaten out by a wide receiver who was drafted many rounds later than him. Cade, pretty upset that he didn't get Burrow to go with Chase and Higgins. I get it. But again, I think naked quarterback is totally this is the Eliminator. You just have to beat someone head to head. It's not the same thought process at all to Best Ball Mania. So just ripping naked Joe Burrow, I'm going to do that often. I'll just take Patrick Mahomes without any of his pass catchers, right? Like, it's like your home league. You just need to beat a guy in a week. Yeah, you need to think through, and generally you want to think from the end goal and go backwards. So, like, how do you win and then go backwards? Don't think, how do I get there? I mean, Matthew Golden seems like a steal. Brandon Ayuk, I think I got to lower him in the Eliminator. It is worrying, but I still like him. And then I want to get a running back here. I like Warren and Tracy and Mason, but we're going to go Jaylen Warren. I think he could be a big winner from the Rodgers acquisition. I agree. Winning this year's Eliminator would be so awesome. Just the sweat midseason is going to be awesome. Like, some of you guys are going to get in pods against me head to head, and I hope you talk trash. And I'm going to be looking at every single week on stream. We'll be looking at my Eliminators. Knock on wood that I go deep, right? So, I mean, a really strong collection of 5 wide receivers, I think, plus Henry, Harvey, and Warren. Team's coming together here. What do you think about Brian Robinson this year? Him and Swift are 2 guys I packed my bags on launch day when their ADP were in the hundreds. I still like Brian Robinson's chances to, just score a lot of touchdowns. It's a little, it's a little bit like, why does he go so close to Swift? Why is he so close to Tony Pollard? Why does he go so close to Aaron Jones? But look, You need to take running backs eventually. I see no reason why he couldn't have 2 touchdowns in the good week, you know? Who is this year's Gus Edwards? Gus Edwards got back on the field, Charles, man. Be fair. Let me think about that one. I think it's a contract year for Brian Robinson, too, which generally players are very motivated. Javonte is this year's Gus Edwards. That could be a good one. Look, if you need Javonte Williams to win, I'm not winning. I did get him in the big board, though, back when he was going in like the 200. So maybe I'll win the big board. I mean, Swift could be an utter smash. Like, what are we even worried about with Swift anymore? Outside of a trade, which of course is always unlikely, or an injury, what could it be? I don't think that's good pattern matching, but I could see Miles Sanders being a good pick. You know, Miles Sanders is not a second-year guy. He is in an ambiguous situation, though. Yeah, Swift and Pacheco, I would say, have the most upside. Jadon Blue is a tough one for me to click. I clicked him in BBM the other day because he was like 20 picks past ADP, but I don't really love him. Player you've changed your opinion on most from negative to positive this year so far? Huh. I don't know. I'm warm on Derrick Henry, I guess. The Colts pass catchers I'm warming up on too. I don't know. Let's just get a quarterback on the team. And I like never get Ingram because I like Jonnu more, but maybe I should get some of him. Also could do Charbonnet. Also could do the rookies. Last second, we chose to do Jaden Higgins. Drake May's nice because he has a week 14 bye. I guess Sanders I warmed on a lot. Sanders is last year's Dobbins. That's better pattern matching to me. Anthony Richardson, I guess Daniel Jones I've gotten a little bit more positive on. Who do you like most out of Hill, Rice, and Wilson? Well, clearly you're just tuning in. Hill and Rice, who I have ranked next to each other. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if like no Cowboys running back is that important. I guess I think a better comp for Downs is he's like a rich man's Wan'Dale Robinson. I draft some Pitts, but I wouldn't say I love him. It's just the vibes are bad. I won't lie to you. If you don't do that many eliminators, quarterbacks and running backs fly off the shelves all the time. This is going to be my last one for today, anonymous. Usually do 2 drafts per stream. I just got to get some lunch. Late lunch for me. Yeah, I mean, people are gushing over Downs. And I had a lot of Downs last year. I had a lot of Downs his rookie year, but I don't know. I personally am not going to click him over Golden, Jaden Reed, Shakir, etc. I see how people view it similar, but like Tyler Warren could just be way more dominant, Drake May, not hard to envision him being a pretty solid smash. Him and Justin Fields, right? They're the two who you're like, oh my God, these guys could melt faces. Yeah, Barry, I'll get right to that. On a serious note, I think it's funny to complain about the back end because, again, I think it's the best place to draft. Oh my God. If I go unresponsive midstream, call the police for me. How would that work? Just like 200 people call 911 all at once? This guy, he's a streamer. Here's his name. Went Lamar and Fields. Think that's too much capital in this format? I do not. Post your address. We can help. Will do. David Njoku, for sure. All right, we're gonna gamble at quarterback and just hope we're not utterly punished. And let's do Kincaid. Or do we do Tyler Warren? Let's do Tyler Warren this time. Njoku's just too cheap for what he can be. Guys, Liam isn't posting his address. That would be stupid. Give me your social security. I can help. I mean, if I was choking, maybe I could type it out. So, fun squad. Drake May, Derrick Henry, RJ Harvey, Jalen Warren, Malik Neighbors, JSN, Marvin Harrison, Calvin Ridley, Matthew Golden, Jaden Higgins, David Njoku, Tyler Warren. Let me refill my water real quick. I work for Jagex. What's your address? Type your password backwards. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, if you guys never played RuneScape, this was a big thing. People would be like, type your password backwards. We'll double your money. Obviously, for the Eliminator, unless they have starting roles, guys like Jaden Blue, Jack Beck, Byshell Tootin, probably worse picks. You see J.K. Dobbins went pick 134 here. I know I have a ton of cheap. It's annoying that the Eliminator's in a different place. I know I have a ton of cheap Dobbins here. Let's find some. Josh Lamar, that team's probably dead. Overlapping buys. This one has RJ Harvey and Dobbins. Pick 182. Also probably dead. Double week 8 buys. Good job. These were pre-scheduled, obviously. J.K. Dobbins, pick 181. Fields, McCarthy, Sam Darnold. Cook, Connor, Montgomery, Charbonnet, Dobbins, Wright. Nico, Brian Thomas, Marvin. Pickens at pick 84, pre-trade. Cup, Tillman, Yoshi Voss, Kincaid, and Goddard. That team's pretty nice. Yes, bye week's very important in this. I get it, Cade. It's only probably dead because they both have week 7 buys. I mean, if you weren't jamming Dobbins before he signed in the Eliminator, what were you doing? Okay, this is pretty awesome. We get Cam Ward stacked. And we're just going to take Stafford too. Not stacked, back stackable. But in general, I want 3 quarterback a little bit more in the Eliminator. I guess I could have done Rodgers very late too. What is Rodgers ADP in this? 171. So he's really climbing. Yeah, there was no guarantee we were going to get him. We pick at 180. So we have May, Ward, Stafford, Henry, Harvey, Warren, Neighbors, JSN, Marvin Harrison, Calvin Ridley, Matthew Golden, Jaden Higgins, David Njoku, Tyler Warren. We could have done Tyler Warren stack too. We need to get probably 2 more running backs. Either 2 more running backs or 3. Probably do 2 more running backs though, and then 3 more wideouts. Could do a 3rd tight end too. Pretty flexible. Jesus, dude. Dark. I mean, look, you never know, man. Like, are the double bye week quarterback teams in the Eliminator most likely dead? Yes. Are they for sure dead? No. No interest with Darnold to pair with JSN. I mean, I should probably have done that, Marvin, but again, stacking not essential in this. I like Stafford better. Bench risk with Darnold. Stafford, no bench risk. I don't know. It was close. Probably should do Darnold, though, most likely. But yeah, I mean, look, you can beat someone head to head without a quarterback. You know, it can happen. I promise you there will be one team this year, or there will be more than one team this year that wins their head-to-head matchup with no quarterback points. I don't know what's going on, but these 2 people are just tagging each other in the comments going off. Go off, Kings. Go off. What is this talking about? I mean, Richardson is far from dead. To be fair, I'm allergic to tempeh. It's not because I'm a pescatarian. I mean, if you want to cite data, every bear looked bad last year. Miles Sanders went pick 164 in this. Yeah, that's the thing with the Colts is like, do you want the guy starting week 1? Probably not. Oh yeah, I mean, dude, people are going to be face melting. If I win like a pod scoring like 58 fantasy points, the tinfoil hats are going to be out in droves. My 190 point team lost, and this streamer won with 55 points. It's not fair. Blah, blah, blah. Cry me a river, you know? I didn't know you were talking about hockey. Wow, Darnold's still there. We're gonna do Hill. I don't love the double week 7 bye, but we're gonna do it anyways. And sure, Mr. Will Shipley. Double Shipley streams. Maybe it's a shipper. You know, Austin. Nothing will surprise me with today's society. I mean, people like literally like sue McDonald's because they pour coffee in their laps. People are gonna do stuff, you know. I'm sure I'm the first. If I win the Eliminator, I hope Underdog puts that little moment right there into the into a commercial. No, dude, literally by week 2, all of my teams could be out. That is going to like someone that's going to happen to. Someone's going to draft 150 teams, and by week 3, week 4, they're out of there. Other people are going to draft 150 teams, and they're going to have like 20 teams live by week 9. All right. You guys are very knowledgeable on this McDonald's case. I didn't realize a bunch of lawyers watched me. I defer to you. Hochberg's everywhere, man. He is everywhere. Hochberg, if you're there, notify. Say hello. Hochberg won my. I had one Albatross team. He won the Albatross, so he's running good. Hochberg, give a caw. The chat is very knowledgeable about trimming armor and McDonald's coffee lawsuits. All right, what does this team need? Tight end, done. Quarterback, done. Running back, it's a thin group. But maybe I need to be done. I don't know. My wide receiver room's low-key strong. It's just the buys. Only 2 overlapping buys, so I at least have 4 wide receivers active each week. It's not great for week 8, but okay, the week 7, I only have RJ Harvey, Warren, and Shipley. Maybe fine. It's a true mix. I kind of low-key like this Hill-Henry combo. Dude, I believe you. Your name is Soups. I believe you would know the temp of the coffees. I mean, if I was McDonald's, my argument would have been, look, eating our food is bad for your health anyways, so you should have known the risk. Like, don't eat here if longevity is your goal. Take Mitchell to get funky. Locked down the backfield. The thing about Henry and why I kind of want to get some more is Lamar ran crazy hot on touchdown passes last year, especially by the goal line. And it's like, that's got to regress. The man threw like 44 touchdowns or something. 41. Yeah, right? I want on record, I love grandmas. Doesn't stacking still matter in this format? Yes, I do think it helps your week-to-week ceiling, so that's why you want to be doing it in general. But is it essential? No, right? Like, obviously, Joe Burrow can score 30, Jamar Chase scores 50, and you don't need Chase's 50. You can get by your first round pick scoring 25 because it's a head-to-head format. You're not competing against 5 trillion teams. All right, we'll do Mr. Tutu to get a Stafford stack. And why not? I drafted this guy like 500 times last year. I don't even know why I'm doing it, but Kendrick Bourne, welcome to the team. Came to my brain. We did it. We're going thin at running back. Almost no one. Identify yourself if you've drafted Kendrick Bourne so far. He was low-key really good a couple years ago. You know, why not? May, Ward, Stafford, Henry, Harvey, Warren, Justice Hill, Shipley. So, I mean, I don't know. Does this team need a Saquon injury pretty early, maybe? Or it just needs like Harvey and Warren to be very good? Neighbors, JSN, Marvin, Ridley, Golden, Higgins, Atwell, Bourne, Njoku, Warren. Picks like Bourne are like much better in BBM where he's a 0% drafted, but and not that valuable in a head-to-head format, but whatever. We did it anyways. He might not make the team. Yes, that is 100% in the range of outcomes. Kendrick Bourne could be cut. Yeah, I do think like trying to cash in points, Matt Collins is a better bet to score some points. Wow, soups. Kyle Williams highlights will make you never click Kendrick Bourne again. I mean, I wanted Demario Douglas, but apparently people got high on him. He had like one blurb. Yeah, he's better. Bourne's better in a BBM because, again, you got to beat more teams there. He's not that valuable in this, honestly. Came to my brain. I didn't feel like drafting like the 500th team of Dontavian Wicks or Andre Yoshivas. So I was like, whatever. We'll do Kendrick Bourne. And imagine me winning with the Kendrick Bourne 0. Worth it. Why not Polk or Baker? They're also probably better clicks. Kendrick Bourne's just been very good in the past. He was hurt, recovered last year. So my philosophy with the guys who were hurt and recovered, Aaron Rodgers, blah, 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 they could be pretty good. You know? Polk has looked very rough in the videos I saw. Yeah, I mean, Matt Collins did have a good run with the Pats. That is fair. Again, don't try this at home, but we got to get one Kendrick Bourne team. In general, if you drafted a lot of a guy last year and you draft none of him this year, no. You got to get some. Yeah, this guy's also probably ahead of Kendrick Bourne. His name's like Chifton Efton or something like that. Chisholm Efton. Keyshawn Booty. Yeah, he was whatever. So my Eliminator team, May, Ward, Stafford, Henry, Harvey, Warren, Hill, Shipley. Feels thin. Needs pretty much Henry just to like smash every week. Neighbors, JSN, Marvin, Ridley, Golden, Higgins, Atwell, Bourne. Like, I don't think I needed that many wide receivers just because like Neighbors should be in there most weeks. Njoku, Warren feels strong there. Maybe too much. Lucky number 64. Yeah, not those guys. Streamed 616, and we'll number this one. We're not numbering each eliminator, but 64, that's a special one. On app, I think I could add a chess emoji, but we won't for this one. Yeah, McDonald's, if you want that slogan, 500K, it's yours. All right, folks, that's what I got for today. Like and subscribe. Join the Discord. Click that notification bell. Beatbestball.com. I got fresh ranks. Going to be updating more throughout the week. I'll be live tomorrow. Got some articles hitting the site. And be live with Davis 3 p.m. Wednesday as well. Peace out, folks.